All right, guys, so today we are going to continue with day 2 of what should be probably 4 days of solving, using quadratic equations to solve word problems. So I think it would be a good idea, right? I know yesterday's lesson was probably a little bit dense, and that's okay, but I think maybe you guys should try the do now on your own, right? So I'm going to go over it, but I think you should maybe give it a little pause right now and see how you guys do with the do now. All right, so my rectangle here, it says the length is 6 less than twice the width. So if the width is x, twice the width is 2x, and 6 less than that would be 2x minus 6. So it says the area is 216 square centimeters. So x times the quantity 2x minus 6 is equal to 216. So when I distribute my x, I get 2x squared minus 6 equals 216. I want to put it in standard form, so I pull my terms to the left. So I get 2x squared minus 6x minus 216. So we saw one like this. I think it was maybe the work period yesterday. So we said we're not going to use 5-step method unless we have to, which sometimes we do, but not in this case. So I should get x squared minus 3x minus 108 is equal to 0. So we should be able to factor this as x minus 12 times x plus 9. So I'll bring that up over here. We're going to split it up. X minus 12 equals 0, and x plus 9 equals 0. So when I solve the first one, I get 12. And when I get the second one, I get negative 9. Now again, right, I can't have a side length of a figure that's going to be negative 9, so we reject this one. Right, we said it's called an extraneous solution. We can't have a side length that's negative, so our solution really should be x is equal to 12. So if x is equal to 12 centimeters, then 2x is 24 minus 6 is 18. And if I want to check it, I do my length times my width should be equal to my area, which is true. So the question is, what are the dimensions? So our answer would be the dimensions are 18 centimeters by 12 centimeters. All right, so now let's get back to the second one. So we've got consecutive odd integers. So I'm going to use x plus 2x plus 4, right? And again, we could make x the middle one. We could make x the largest one. But this should be easy enough. So it says the product of the smallest and the middle. All right, so my smallest is x, and my middle is x plus 2. And it says is 46 less than the square of the largest. Well, now I'm going to actually go back and I'm going to change this around. I don't want to square x plus 4, right? We saw this yesterday. A lot of you guys made mistakes when we were trying to square x plus 2 or x plus 4 because we just square the two terms and we forget to actually do the FOIL and we forget about the middle term. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to rewrite this with x being the largest. That's going to make things easiest for us. So I'm going to call the middle one x minus 2 and I'll call the smallest x minus 4. So now it says the product of the smallest and the middle. Okay, I'm going to have to do the FOIL there, but it's not going to be terrible. It says it's 46 less than the square of the largest. Well, that's going to be easy, right? I just have to do x squared. I don't have to do anything. X squared minus 46. So when I do the FOIL here, I get x squared, negative 4x and negative 2x should combine to give us negative 6x plus 8, right, is equal to x squared minus 46. So this actually is not going to be a quadratic, right, strangely enough, because I've got x squared on both sides. So if I subtract x squared on both sides, I get a linear equation. I get negative 6x plus 8 is equal to negative 46. I add negative 8 on both sides. I get negative 6x is equal to negative 54. I divide by negative 6, and I simply get x is 9. So the question, right, didn't say find the two pairs of solutions like we saw yesterday. It's telling you there's only going to be one solution, and the solution is if x is 9, well then 9 minus 2 is 7, and 9 minus 4 is 5. So find the numbers. The numbers we'd say are 5, 7, and 9. And we'd say the product of the smallest and the middle, which is 35, is going to be 46 less than the square of the largest. Well, 9 squared is 81. 81 minus 46 is 45 if you needed to see the check. It's 35, I'm sorry, if you wanted to see the check. So we had said yesterday, right? So the aim from yesterday was, as we see down here, picture frame problems. And I said we weren't going to see them right away, but we'll spend the next 2 periods talking about different types of picture frame and walkway type problems. So this is the first one, and it's going to take us some time. So it says a 12 by 16 picture has a frame around it of uniform width. Uniform means the same. It means it's the thickness of the frame is the same on all sides. It says the area, and the second important piece of information, because this will be different at the very end and it'll be very different tomorrow, it says the area of the picture and the frame together. Now that's different if we said just the area of the frame or maybe just the area of the picture, which we know about. How wide is the frame? All right. So I'm going to use a separate space here. So we're going to label the information that we know here, right? So this is 12 and this is 16. Now the important part is this, right? How wide is that? Well, we don't know. We know it's a uniform width, so we're going to call it X. And we're going to say that this is also X. And we can label it wherever we want, right? I've seen problems where they just label it over here. I like to kind of label it in the corners. But really you can label it anywhere. Any vertical or horizontal length is going to be X. Right, so again, I've got this 12 by 16 inch picture. All around it, we've got this frame, which is the outline of it is in blue, and it's X units wide. So like I said, we had done something similar to this when we first started foil. So what I really need to figure out first is what is this here? Right, what is that? And we're going to say, well, that is going to be my 12 units that I've got here, plus an additional X units, plus an additional X units. So this whole thing is actually 12 plus 2X units. I'm going to see if I could do it on the side. Right? And then I'm going to do the same thing here, right? If I know that this is 16, right? So this is 16. And then I've got an additional X units down here. I've got an additional X units down here. This whole thing is 16 plus 2X. That's where we make mistakes, right? So the first time I do this problem, everyone says, well, it should be 12 plus X and 16 plus 2X. So sometimes we just need to kind of sit back a little bit and think about what's happening, right? We have X units on each side. So you can see my 16, I have a green X on the right, I have a green X on the left, so there's actually an additional 2X. So if we go back to the problem, it says the area of the picture and the frame together. So my area of the picture and the frame together is this out here times this, right? That's my length times my width. So it's 12 plus 2X times 16 plus 2X is equal to, let me just go back, I think it's 396. There we go, 396. So that's going to be your equation. Now, solving the equation isn't the hard part. The hard part is actually setting it up, and you are going to have to draw it. It's going to be really difficult to do this without drawing it out. So when I do the FOIL, I'm going to have 2x times 2x is 4x squared. I'm going to have 12 groups of 2x and another 16 groups of 2x is going to be 56x. And I'm going to have 16 times 12, which is going to be 192. Right, so I'm going to do my best to put this in standard form. So that's 4x squared plus 56x minus 204 equals 0. Now we've said this a few times now, right? I'm not going to use 5-step method unless I have to, which I don't. So we see all these terms are divisible by 4. Right, so 51 doesn't have a whole lot of factors, right? It's got 1 in itself, and it's got 17 and 3. So the middle term is positive, so I'm going to use positive 17 and negative 3. So I get x plus 17 equals 0. I get x minus 3 equals 0. So my first solution here is x equals negative 17, and my second one is x is 3. Now, obviously, I can't have a side length or a width of something that's negative 17. So we get x is 3. Now let's go back to our original problem. So it says I've got this 12 by 16 inch picture. How wide is the frame? So we would say the frame is 3 inches wide. Right, so that makes sense on the surface at least, right? We want to make sure we check it, right? I didn't get, 27/18 or something. I got 3, I got an integer, but let's make sure it actually checks. So if I go to the problem here, right, and if it is in fact 3, then 16 plus 2x would be 16 plus 6, which is going to be 22. And 12 plus 2x, it would be 12 plus 6, which is 18. So my dimensions would be 18 by 22, which if I multiply them, it's going to give me 396. So that should be my check. All right, so this is what we're going to have to do now. I'm hoping based on the last one, you should be able to do number 1. All right, it's pretty much the same. The second one is going to be really different, and it's going to be a lead-in to what we do tomorrow. Right, so this would be a good time for you to stop and try these on your own. All right, so now you'd be able to unpause it and we go over it. So the first one says I've got a 5 by 7 inch picture. So I'm going to have 5 by 7. And it says that it's got a uniform width around it. So we should be no stranger to that then if you were following along with what we just did. And again, if you were following along, you should be able to label each of these longer sides. So if that's 7, and I've got x on each side, I've got 7 plus 2x, and I've got 5 plus 2x. And it says the area of the picture and the frame together. All right, and that's important because as you can see, if you just looked at number 2, or if you did number 2 says frame only. That's going to be, I might say a completely different problem, but there's going to be another component to it. So the area of the whole thing is going to be 323. So I get 5 plus 2x times 7 plus 2x equals 323. So I've got my 4x squared. I've got my 14x and my 10x, which is 24x. And I've got my 35. We're going to put it in standard form, so I'm going to move my terms. So that gives me 4x squared plus 24x, and that's going to give me minus 288. And again, we're not going to use 5-step method. I get x squared plus 6x minus 72 equals 0. I should be able to factor that down as x plus 12 times x minus 6. I will bring it over here and I'll split it up. I get x plus 12 equals 0. I get x minus 6 equals 0. So one of my solutions is x is negative 12. And my other should be x is positive 6. Right, we're obviously going to reject our negative solution, right, as extraneous. And we're going to say x is 6 is really our only solution. And again, if we want to really be diligent and go back and check, if x is 6, 2x over here is 12, plus 5 is 17. 2x here is 12 plus 7 is 19. And if we multiply 19 by 17, we should get our 323, so it should check. All right, and let's go back and let's check out the other one. So our 6 by 10 painting has a frame around it of uniform width, so let's get that set up. All right, so my uniform width, I'm only going to put one of them in here, right? I think we've done a few of these now. And again, if you've been following along, you know that this should be 10 plus 2x. And you know that this should be 6 plus 2x. Here's the difference, though. Let's go back. Area of the frame only is 36 square feet. Right, so I just want the area, I want this area. Right, how am I going to find that area? Well, we talked about this when we were doing FOIL, when we first started multiplying binomials. Find the area of a shaded or unshaded region is going to be the area of the outside minus the area of the inside. So if you want to do it as a verbal model, which I think would help some of us, right, outside minus inside equals the area of the frame. Right? In other words, the whole thing minus the picture or the painting or whatever it is in the middle equals the frame. So that's kind of how we're going to set it up. I'm going to say the area of the outside, which is 10 plus 2x, times 6 plus 2x minus the area of the inside. Well, the area of the inside is 6 times 10, right, which is 60. So you can really fill this in as 60. I'm going to put 6 times 10, and it says that it should be 36. So that's what our equation is. So what we're going to realize is the constant's going to drop out. If you take a look at the FOIL we're going to do at the beginning, 6 times 10 is 60. That's what's going to be eliminated. Right, so I've got my 60. I've got my 20x, and I've got my 12x, should be 32x. And I've got my 4x squared. I've got minus 60 equals 36. So what's going to happen? Well, 60 and negative 60 net out. I get 4x squared plus 32 equals 36. All right, so now I've got 4x squared minus 32x, plus 32x, sorry, minus 36 equals 0. If I got some space here, divide everything by 4. I'll bring that up over here. So I get x squared. Sorry, that's a 4 that I divided by. I got a little sloppy. X squared plus 8x minus 9 equals 0. It's going to give me x plus 9 times x minus 1 equals 0. I get x plus 9 equals 0. I get x minus 1 equals 0. So my first solution here is x is negative 9. Obviously, we're going to reject that one. And I just want this solution here, which is x is equal to 1. Now, if we want to check and we go back, if x is equal to 1, 6 plus 2x is equal to 8. 10 plus 2x is equal to 12. And if I do the area of the outside, which is 8 times 12, which is 96, and if I do the area of the inside, which is 6 by 10, which is 60, and if I subtract those areas, it should give me the area of the frame, which is exactly what we expected. So the answer to that question would be, right, find the width of the frame. We'd say the frame is 1 foot wide. All right, and tomorrow we're going to continue along with this same type of problem where we're talking about defining the area of a walkway or a frame, which is going to require subtraction, which we didn't have to do for all the rest of the problems, and we'll check in with that tomorrow.